On the whistle!
That's my teammate Frank in the front. With about 30 seconds to go while we were staging, he moved from the back to the front, and at that point, I knew I was in trouble. Hey, cycling community, this is Steve, Grusis the Cycling Greek. Monterey's Tim Davis, who was our main competition, who Frank and I both would put money on would win this race, recognized the threat that Frank could easily solo away and win this race. He got on Frank's wheel, and I got on his wheel. And because of the pace that Frank was pushing, this is the positions that we all stayed in for the first early part of the race. Oh, by the way, the race really hasn't started yet. This is the promenade. Pretty much most everybody in the pack was wondering, why are we going so fast right now? Here's the part of the course that I was worried about. Actually, there are a number of areas, but this is the first main one. This is the climb. Now you see the profile at the bottom of the screen, and it's kind of deceiving because the high point is about 300 feet. Now, if you see my earlier races of this year, you'd be wondering, why are you worried about this climb? Well, the answer to that is that my last race was about 2 months ago, middle of January. Then I had to climb to Kaiser the next week. Well, my wife, the fetching Mrs. Cycling Greek, had hip replacement surgery, so I've been pretty much sequestered for about 5 weeks, just riding in my development here where I live, which meant that usually I had a ride that was no more than 60 minutes, 90 minutes toward the end. During that time, I was doing my intervals, I was doing Zwift races, but no endurance work. And that really showed after I was able to get back on the road again, which was about a week and a half, 2 weeks before this race. Now, I made sure everybody in the pack knew that, so when they saw that I wasn't working, then they'd know why, and they go, oh, okay, we got to give this guy a break. So right now, I'm glad that everyone's letting Frank just set up the pace there. The pace is meaty enough for me to, be a little concerned, but I'm still able to hang in, and I know the top is coming pretty soon. So let's talk about race details. This is the Master District Championships like you saw in the title. This is going to be the 70-74s. We are racing with the 75s and the 80s. Now there's no 80s there. There are 3 75s and the other balance, the 7 of us, are 70 plus. We are doing 2 laps in which each lap is a little more than 22 miles. This is a mostly flat or flattish type of a course, and the climb that you saw there, there may be 1 or 2 more like that, but pretty much that's it. In the upper left-hand corner, you'll see the outline of the course, and the left side, so to speak, of that outline is going to be where the undulations and the climbs are. There's a little climb on the other side, but pretty much the undulations are going to be on the left side where we are now. And because I don't know how I'm going to be doing in this race, I'm just being real conservative. Speaking of that, let's talk about our tactics. Since I don't know if I can even finish this race, I figure whatever Frank wants to do is good with me. So Frank said that he and I both need to get in a break with Tim, and then we'll need to work him over and get the win. There are 2 challenges with that. First, you have to orchestrate it so that both Frank and I are in a break with Tim and no one else. And the next is that we're able to work Tim over and get the win. And that's why Frank went to the front and stayed at the front pretty much so far in this race. And you may be thinking, well, he's using up a lot of energy, so that doesn't make any sense. But Frank can do that, and everybody knows that Frank can do that. Jumping ahead a bit, there was a rider I was not familiar with because he was from down south, Tom Howlett from Paddock Racing. His height, body type, and the way he rode kind of reminded me of Frank, so I'm thinking, this is another guy I have to be concerned about. For a while we were competing for Tim's wheel, but then after a while I was thinking, this guy's riding pretty strong and he's much bigger wind block than Tim is. So then eventually I just got on his wheel. Eventually what was happening is that Tim and Tom would eventually trade poles with Frank. Frank would be doing most of the work, and when Frank went back, he would stay a little while, rest a little bit, and then he'd go to the front, and when it wasn't his turn, and do a long, strong pull like this. How do I know this? I had a front row seat, because I was in back of these guys just watching them trade poles. This is only 5 miles into the race, 6 miles into the race thus far. We've dropped all the 75s, and we just have the 7 of us that are in the 70s left. This went on for pretty much the entire first lap. The games haven't started yet. Jumping ahead a bit to just mile 7, with the pacing that we've had, we have just lost 1 rider, so now we're down to a pack of 6. There were a couple climbs left on this side of the course that I was moderately concerned about. My main concern was that bridge at the far end of the course. The road over the bridge is so bad it's got to damage car tires. Jumping to mile 11, we are approaching said bridge. Now, I decided to go to the pack and then just look for my time and then just pop to to the front and Ali can lead it through. However, I was in back of Frank. He's trying to do that. I'm staying on his wheel. I see Tim go right in back of him, so then I just slot in back of Tim. I figure Frank will take a good line. Tim definitely knows what he's doing, and I can have enough distance between Tim and myself in case I need to pick a different line. Let's see and listen to what it sounds like going over this bridge. Watch the rear camera. Jumping to the 24-mile mark, we have just started the second lap, and we're going up the feed zone hill, and Tim is obviously, as you can see, pacing us up that. If you look at the rear view camera, you can see our one of our pack is starting to drift back a little bit, and this is where he becomes disconnected. So this is where now we become a pack of 5. About a half a mile later, we're now starting that one climb that I'm concerned about. Now, Frank's been at the front for quite a while, and he's been doing a lot of work, and I haven't. So I've been concerned about him getting jumped by Tim, then me having to go after Tim, then me blowing up and redlining before I can get to Tim. So I decided to go to the front and pace it myself. I'm hoping to go fast enough where I'm just not going to kill myself, because I'm watching my heart rate, which is on the right side, about 147, 148. And if I can just keep it like that and keep the pace even, no one will want to jump me. At least that's what I'm hoping. This way, Frank can get a little bit of extra rest being on someone's wheel, and then I can be out in the wind. Now, this wasn't a windy course, but it's always good to be on someone's wheel. In the first lap, about the 6 or 7 mile mark, Frank and I actually got together, and I told him that I'm not going to do anything until the second lap. And he said, just sit back there and rest as much as you can. Later on, before I got to the far end of this lap where the bridge is, I was thinking to myself, maybe I'm not going to do anything on this side of the course. I'll wait until the other side of the course. So far I was surviving, but I was cognizant that if I went too hard for too long, or there are a number of quick, repeated attacks, I can get dropped. I just wasn't confident yet. What I didn't show you is that on that low-grade section that leads to that right turn for this climb, that Frank was pacing, and we dropped another rider. As Frank just said, we're now down to a group of 4. Jumping to the 28-mile mark, it seemed to me that Frank was thinking about making a move. I was right. I get the signal from him. I think he wants me to stand his wheel, but what I do, I start jumping as he's jumping. This way I can jump, but stay on these guys' wheels as Frank goes by, because if I was on Frank's wheel, it'd make it too easy for Tim, as it seems to be real easy for him now to be able to do that. Now, if I was second quarter cycling Greek, second quarter 26, then this would have been the perfect move for me to counter, but I am not second quarter cycling Greek. I am post 5-week sequestered cycling Greek. If I would have countered, I would have gotten caught and then maybe dropped. Jumping to the next point of interest, we are now on one of the last few power climbs left in this course. Paddy X Tom Howlett is setting a good pace. Fortunately, he's putting in a lot more power than I am just being on someone's wheel. The more we climb, the steeper it gets. It's at this point my teammate Frank puts in a big attack. As soon as I see him, I start to jump, because these days it takes me a while to get going. I see that Tom is going to have some little bit of trouble, so I just immediately go around him, get on Tim's wheel. Frank is still driving it. Earlier I put in over 660 watts, and now I'm still over 400. I am hoping that I can stay connected as we get over the top, because, again, I can blow at any time. He starts to slow a bit. Now we see that Tom is off the back, so now we have our group of 3. But is it going to stay that way? Tom is pretty strong. We all know he's capable of reattaching. This is where the title of this video comes into play. Choices. Of course, it's an easy choice for Frank because he's trying to establish our breakaway of 3. So he's in the front still driving it. Now at a certain point he starts to slow, then it's Tim's turn to make a choice. He knows he's a strong sprinter, but he doesn't know that rider back there. He's also calculating that if that rider does attach, that he's more likely to take a place away from Frank or myself and not him. So I go to the front. It's my choice, so I got to drive this. I also choose to put in some extra watts while I'm at the front. This way we'll get a little bit of distance, and if we stay coordinated and at least do a reasonable job in terms of taking turns, or at least a couple of us, then it'll make it harder for Tom to reattach. As you can see, I'm starting to not do those big watts, and I'm hoping someone else comes around. So Tim, now the choice goes back to him. Now we're all looking back. Tim looks back and sees that Tom is, he's still back there. He's working to get back up. So at a certain point, Tim goes to the front and he does a big pull. We are now at the 36-mile mark, heading to the last key climb before the feed zone climb. That leads to the finish. We kept the pressure up, jostled our brains through that bad bridge road, and looks like we're looking back, we're not seeing him. My confidence has grown such that I'm not going to get dropped. Or rather, I don't think I'm going to get dropped. So I decided to put a dig in, see if I can establish a gap, and see if we can start off the pound Tim into submission part of the plan. Well, everything went fine until it didn't. It was a long way up, which doesn't seem like a long way when you're looking at it, but when you're in my kind of form right now, it was a long way up. So now I'm concerned about getting countered by Tim. I'm trying to put as many watts as I can to keep the speed up. The speed up is only like 16 miles, but still on the climb. And my heart rate is slowly going up. So we're just about at the top, and I think we're at the top now. I'm just looking around my left shoulder, seeing if Tim does anything. I have no idea where Frank is. I'm concerned about Frank countering us. I didn't know he was off the back. And considering all the work he put in to establish our three-man break, that's understandable. Notice our speed right now. We're on a flat ground. It's, zero grade, and it's 16 miles an hour. I mention this because Tom, all this time, has been keeping his speed steady, and he's now coming into view, or will be coming into view soon. Now at the 39-mile mark, it's hard to tell, but I can see him back there. Tim, of course, is not going to put in extra effort for the reasons I mentioned earlier, because the disadvantage is to Frank and I. So Frank's been pretty tired up there, I'm pretty sure, from doing all the work. So now I go to the front. I'm putting in a bunch of old guy watts for about 30, 40 seconds, and hopefully we can get this thing rolling a little bit. At least this way we'll get a little bit of distance. But as you all know, slow is smooth, smooth is fast, and we're not really doing that part. Tom is doing that part. We're not doing that part. Now we are at the 40-mile mark. Frank signals to pull through. Of course, Tim's not going to pull through, so then I go up to do another effort here. I get to do some old guy watts again, but it doesn't last too long. At the end of my pull, Frank comes through, and I'm hoping that we can now establish a smoother pace. For the last 6 miles, we've been playing this cat and mouse game. Tom gets close, and we put in efforts to get some distance back. We're now in the feed zone climb leading to that left turn that goes to the finish. Tom is no longer a factor. I just needed my front camera battery to last about 15 more minutes. Currently, Frank and Tim are side by side, and I'm obviously right behind them. Frank warned me to be prepared that Tim's going to jump at any point like he's doing right now. The problem is that when he jumped, I was in the wrong gear. I was in too light a gear. Not that it would have made a difference in terms of the final outcome, but it would have got me closer a little longer. I could have maybe been on his wheel, get a little more brake. So now I'm chasing after him. There's a big gap to him. He is so far away at this point, I know I'm not going to catch him, so I'm just trying to hang on for second place. My wattage is in VO2 max zone, but it's not going to last there. It's slowly going to go down, and then boom, I'm just going to die off. But I haven't died off yet, so the left turn is coming up. However, as that left turn comes up, it's like a 2% grade with a little bit of a 4, 5, and 6% grade. That's where I die off. Now, as Frank comes by, he yells for me to get on his wheel, but I stand, and then my legs just don't have it. I sit back down, and I figure, okay, we did the first part of our plan. The working over Tim, well, that part didn't work so well. But after being sequestered for about 5 weeks and then getting third place in the District Road Race Championship, I'm pretty happy about that. As always, I hope you enjoyed this video and you got something out of it. Okay, you know the drill. Comment, like, subscribe. The Cycling Greek.